Hey. Okay. I'm sorry about that. I think that uh, my dog just decided to steal something out of Courtney's mouth. I don't know how that happened, but anyway. Oh, she sneezed in your face. Okay. I don't know if that's. I don't guess that's any better. Anyway, I do hope that you guys are doing all right today. I hope that you're having a good week. I know that that mine's been pretty busy, and it will continue to be so until Saturday. And I think I'm just going to sleep all day Saturday. That's kind of my plan right now. But anyway, I hope that you guys are doing okay. I hope everybody's staying well. I did receive an update about Bobby. Hang on just a second. Let me get back to that. He had surgery today on his eye. And so he's gotten home. He has gotten home. They just got home a little while ago. He's got a bandage over his eye, and that's supposed to stay on until Friday. And he said Cece said he was hurting a little bit, and so she gave him some Tylenol, and hopefully that's going to help him out, and hopefully he'll feel better soon, and he'll be back to normal as soon as possible. So anyway, what I want to talk about right now is this something that I think that I struggle with personally, and I think that if I'm struggling with it, it's probably something that other people are struggling with as well, and sometimes it's we all have these highs and lows in our own personal faith, and it's not necessarily that we don't believe. It's just that sometimes our faith is stronger than others. And what I want us to consider is that there are times in Scripture in which even those who were closest to Christ, their faith was not as strong as it could have been. And okay, the dog is going to open the door herself if somebody doesn't take her outside. We got it? Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Anyway, so when we talk about our faith, and sometimes the strength of our faith, uh, we ask ourselves, what might be wrong with me personally? Stop laughing at me. Okay. Anyway, so I'm sorry. Courtney's making faces at me.
I was not.
Okay. All right. Okay. I see you. Anyway, so okay. All right. Sorry. All right. So we're talking about our faith. I'm sorry. There's distractions here today. My girls can't keep it together, apparently. Yeah, you too. Anyway, so we have to we have these moments in our own faith where our faith is just not as strong as it could be. And if you look at Luke chapter 8 and verse 25, it's the same question that Christ asked his disciples. He says, "Where is your faith?" And he asked this of his disciples in fear and amazement. They asked one another, "Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him." So, if we ever find ourselves lacking a certain level of faith, we're not alone in this. Even the people who walked every day with Christ, they also had a struggling faith. So we're not in bad company. Psalm chapter 30 and verse 5 says, "Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning." So even when our faith might be weak right now, we need to understand that will not always be the case. That there will be times when where we will grow stronger in the faith. In the middle of grief, or even this deep-seated mournful cry, we feel weak. And it doesn't matter. We do feel weak, and we have these times of sorrow, But what we can do is when we have those times of sorrow, we can feel hope. We can have hope, even when things are bad. God is with us even when everything else in this world seems to be falling apart. And if you watch the news for any amount of time, it looks that way. But the thing that we need to understand is that God is not bound by time, and He's not bound by circumstances. So what we're saying here is that so it's okay to weep. But then what we need to do is we need to take reassurance in the fact that morning is coming. Okay, we'll weep tonight, but tomorrow things will be better. And especially when you consider 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 9, it says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So what does this even mean? This basically the way that Paul puts it here, he says, therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. So what if we did this? What if instead of us feeling as though our weaknesses are these things that we just need to try to avoid all the time? What if we looked at it as though those things that we might consider to be weaknesses, what if we look at those things as things that we should embrace? What if we were to embrace our weaknesses? God, and when that happens, when we feel weak and we embrace that and we say, okay, well, this is the thing that makes me weak, but God is there and He's strong. And when we do that, then God gets the glory because others will see the power that He has radiating from us. John chapter 14 and verse 27 says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. See, God promises that He's going to give us His power, and the truth is that the power that He gives us is limitless. His supply is limitless. Isaiah 41 and 10 says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. God is promising to be with us even in difficult times. He makes a promise, and He's going to keep it. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 13 says, if we are faithless, He remains faithful, for He cannot disown Himself. So let's take a moment. Let's think, what happens if our faith does have a bad day? If we have a bad day and we're not as strong as we want to be, does that mean that even though our faith wavers, does that mean that God's faith is going to waver? Absolutely not. God is so strong that He can deal with our lack of faith for a brief moment because He's going to remain faithful. And so what can we do as a response then to that? We can draw closer to God. Matthew chapter 11 and verses 28 through 30, it says, come to me all who are weary and burdened. Another translation says heavy laden. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. When we are with Christ, we are strong. When our faith is strong, then we can move mountains. When we're away from Christ, when our faith is weak, when we're weary, he can take us at our worst, and He can continue to make us better. He can give us these opportunities to learn and to grow. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1 says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. We will find ourselves in these low faith periods, and sometimes at that point it's hard to see our way out, but that's why we need to continue to try to remember what our faith is. Faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Lamentations 3 and 22 and 23 says, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They're new every morning, and great is your faithfulness. The Lord's supply of mercy, it's never ending. It's limitless. It never depletes. And he gives us these new mercies every single day when we wake up. And every day is going to have its new burdens, and every day is going to have its new troubles. But also in that same day, we're going to have the things that we need. And we're going to have God there by our side the entire time. So that's something that we can take comfort in. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that all things, that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." We as Christians, when we chose to become Christians, we become part of that called group of people. And when we can't see the good in a situation, what we need to understand is that situation might just be a brief period of time. It's just a season. It might just be a brief detour. I've got a good friend who lives right outside of Chattanooga, and they've had some roadblocks here in the recent 5 or 6 years. And the thing that she often reminds us of is that, well, maybe this was just a roadblock, and we needed to make a detour. And so I think that's an excellent way to look at things. And we need to remember that the detour is not the destination. God promises to work all things out for good. We might have detours. We might have to change direction. We do that all the time, and we don't really like change often, but that's still part of life, isn't it? So Romans chapter 3 and verse 3 says, "What if some were unfaithful? Does their faithlessness nullify the faithfulness of God?" And when you read all of these verses, and let's say that you take a moment and you read everything, and once you get through reading everything, and then you still find that your faith is maybe still a little weak, the good news is that even though our faith might be weak, we've heard all of these things today, and hopefully we've been able to take something from it, but what if we don't? What if we hear the words and we look at all these verses, and then our faith is still not quite as strong as it should be, or as strong as we feel like it should be? The truth is that even though that we might be weak, God is not. God's character is constant. And the truth is that He cannot be anything but faithful. So we may be wavering in our faith, but God is not. God is there for us. He makes promises and He keeps His promises. Again, I hope that you guys are all doing okay today. I hope that you guys are all staying well. If you guys need anything, feel free to get back with me. I'll post any updates that you send me on the Fraley's page. Anyway, I love you guys. And I talked to Phil the other day, and he said we do have new internet at the building. So hopefully that thing will be up and rolling on Sunday morning at 9:30. See you then. Love you. Bye.